Hi guys, welcome back. I do believe we are on part 6 of the Alice in Wonderland journal. Thank you for joining me. So where we left off was actually sewing all our files and our paper into your cover. So you should have something that looks like that. Now this is going to be very thick, very sturdy. Okay, and as I said, that will all be covered up. Okay, so basically when you hold this by the edge of its binding, nothing is moving. Okay, it's all in there, tight, solid, nothing is going to fall out, okay, or move around if you have put that in there nice and tight. Okay, so what we're going to do first is I have cut my two insides. So what we're going to be doing is opening out our folder. Let me sort myself out here and arrange this so you can see properly over here. Going to open out your folder, okay, and this will lay flat so it all folds out like so, okay, so it's easy to write in when you need to, etc. Okay, and then obviously if you pull that over, that will come up. But what we're going to do is decorate these insides. So all I've done is cut a piece of paper and using me black ink, I've just used me StazOn, distressed around the edges. Okay, and then we're just going to be placing these on the insides here. Okay, but still remember to leave that crease there, do not cover that with paper. So these measure 6 3/8 by 4 7/8. Okay, and then what we're going to do, very carefully, bearing in mind, because you need to make sure this comes to the edges as much as you can. I mean, you can distress around the edges again after. So all I'm going to do very quickly is I'm just using my tacky glue, nothing fancy, just a plain old tacky glue. Make sure there's plenty of glue all over that, okay, because this is going to be your cover that's going to be bent backwards and forwards. Okay, so if you can see there's plenty of glue on now. I'm just making sure that's up the right way. All I'm going to do is pull that down so it's flat against the table, okay, and then holding that there like so, I'm just going to make sure that this very edge here is lined up with the very edge of the inside of the cover. Make sure that is lined up perfectly on there. Try to get as little gaps at the top and the bottom edge as you can. Okay, so that's nicely placed in there, and then just taking your bone folder. Sorry, I will have to turn this around a minute because I can't work upside down. Just make sure you give that a really good hard press down, because you do not want that going anywhere. Okay, and then if I just get myself a baby wipe, I just wipe up these little glue spills on there. Okay, so you should have that. Okay, and as you can see, there is a very faint line up there, and that is where your crease is. Okay, so you've got no paper over that crease, nothing is going to interfere with you opening and closing your book. Okay, if you wish to, and you don't like these raw edges along there, you don't like to see the colour of the card underneath, whatever you've used, you could have used black card, so it all matches if you want to, but I'm using this so you can see what I'm doing. But if you've only got a white card or a different colour card and you don't like the look of it, you just take your pen, your little Sharpie or whatever, and just run a line straight up the edge there, okay? And it will hide that. You won't be able to see that at all. So turning this around this way, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on the inside of the back. So I'm just going to put plenty of glue all over there, lots and lots of glue, so it's not going anywhere or coming off. And again, making sure that is the right way up. I'm going to lay this flat against the table again, making sure that I have the edges right against the edge properly. Like so. Okay. And then again, giving that a good firm push down with your bone folder. Like so. Okay. Then at this stage here, all I'm going to do is just take my Stays On ink, and I'm just going to quickly ink around the edges just to make sure there is no card actually showing around the edge. Or you can take your permanent marker and just run it along the edges of your card if you wish to. And then again on this side as well, just taking the ink and all around the edges there. Again, I'm just doing this using a little makeup sponge. And you can buy these in great big packets in the pound shop. I don't believe buying special tools and things to do these with. Okay, so you should have that in the front of your book. Okay, and also in the back. Okay, don't worry about your cards and things falling out. If you find it easier to do this without them in, then take them all out, put them to one side, you know, to do what you want with, and then you can place them all back in after when you've finished. Okay, so then you should have that. And then what we're going to do with this back where you have put the stitching in, okay, what I have done is cut a piece of black card. Okay, this is only very thin, 160, this stuff, very, very flimsy. Okay, just cut a piece of card the same size as the back hinge of your your binding piece here, the back of your cover. Okay, and then what I have done, if you can see, oh, let me get this lined up. If you can see that, okay, I've just left literally 1/8 of an inch all the way around the edges of there. Okay, you don't want it to go right up to the edges because then it'll interfere with your cover. And this is what is going to cover your stitching and give you a nice smooth edging across the back. Sarah was asking me yesterday when she came over for her birthday and I gave her a journal how I made it so smooth along the back and you can't feel no stitching. Sarah, this is how it's done, girl. Okay, so all I'm going to do there is, sorry, let me move that so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Placing plenty of glue Don't be too sparing with it. You can wipe up your spills after. Okay, and just literally covering with lots and lots of glue because you need it to stick over the stitching. Okay, so when you've glued all that up like so, I'm just going to place it on the top here, leaving your edging around each side, and then you're going to give that a good, use your fingers for this bit because you've got to get where all that stitching is. Okay, and you want it to stick nice and firmly. This may take a while to do. You have to kind of manipulate it into place around the edges of your stitching so it sticks down nice and firmly and it's not going to get anywhere. Okay, so just keep rubbing your hands over the top of all that stitching, and especially down these edges, these two edges here. Okay, making sure you have plenty of glue on there. It's going to stick and it's not going anywhere. Okay, and then when you're happy that that is actually stuck in place and it's not going to peel up along this edging where the stitches is, then you'll be fine to move on to the next part, which will actually be covering the front of your book. Okay, so I'm happy that that is stuck on there really well. If you can see, there is a slight little bump on there, but again, this is going to be covered with your cover, so not to worry about that. It will have a nice smooth finish on there. Okay, and don't forget, please make sure along this edge and this edge that that is stuck down so well. Okay, you have to make sure that that is stuck down, otherwise it is going to interfere with your cover that you put over there. Okay, so what I have done, I have chose my two sheets that I want for the front and the back. This is going to be my back piece. Okay, so check in where your front is. That's the front, so I want to flip this right over. Okay, and again I have just distressed around the edges of these, so I'm going to glue around the edges of this. Again, plenty of glue, don't be sparing with it. Making sure you have your paper up the right way and that all your book is up the right way, and you're going to line that up again with the very edges of your page. Okay, and then when you're happy that that is in place or where it should be, up a tiny bit like so. Okay, and then you just give that a really good push down. And slipped on that edge a little bit. Ink will cover that. If you want to make sure it's pushed down nice and firmly, lay it down like that on the inside and just go over the inside like that with your bone folder, and it will smoothen out the other side as well. Okay, so you have that on the back, and then flipping over to the front, making sure again that it is up the right way. taking the front cover, and I've just cut these to the same size as the front and the back. Again, making sure there is plenty of glue all over that. Okay, and then again, as I said, make sure it's up the right way. Your book is up the right way. So important. I have done this a couple of times now, and because I've been in a rush, I haven't opened the front cover, made sure it's up the right way, and I've stuck it on upside down. So, you know, it is important, especially if you've got a picture that you want on the front and it's not just a pattern. Then, you know, make sure your book is up the right way. Okay, and when you're happy that that's in place and you've got no edges showing again, okay, just give that a push down. And as I said, if you turn it round, you can open it up, lay it down, and again, just on the inside, give it a really, really good push down, which will smooth out the paper. Okay, so there you have that on the front and that on the back. Okay, and you still have your edge here, which we're going to use a piece of paper now to cover. If you can see on here, I don't know if you can, you probably see at this top edge, all I done on the black card was I marked a spot in the middle. Because I'm going to use this paper, I wanted to make sure that the center of this and at the bottom is going to be on there, okay, where that mark is. So then I know it's going to fold around the edges nicely. Okay, if you don't want your edges to come round and overlap, if you don't want your edges to come round and overlap on the sides, then you can just, you know, cut it to the sides. But I think wrapping a piece sort of round so it comes over the front and the back sides and finishes it off very nicely. Okay, so all I'm going to do for this is stand my book up like that. It will stand up because it all perfectly fits. If it doesn't, then Houston, we have a problem. So, and then all I'm going to do is I've marked on here, you might be able to see these lines. I have marked the center point where I want to line it up on my hinge, and then either side I have marked an inch from either side because this is 2 inches wide, so I've marked my 2 inches across the middle there. Okay, and then all I'm going to do for this moment is glue on the center piece in between these 2 inches. Okay, so from where I have my lines here, I'm just going to glue all the way along in between them lines. If you can't, let me show you quickly. If you're very, very fussy, take your ruler where you've drawn your mark, okay, and just draw lines across there so you know where you're placing your glue. Okay, that's if you're fussy and you need to know where you're going. So I'm just going to go right along that line, right up to the very, very edge, back down that line. Doesn't matter if you go over the lines a little bit. And then, as I said, making sure you have plenty of glue along there, because this is going across the back. It will be sticking over your piece of card where your stitching is. Again, just making sure that my book is up the right way. As I said, just standing it up like that. Make sure your paper is up the right way. I'm going to line up these across there, so that will be central on that top piece. And then if I run this down over the card and the stitching, and that will be central on now. Okay, and you can hold your book together like so, and then again giving that a really nice firm push. Again, I wouldn't take your bone folder and do this. I would do this with your fingers because, as I said before, with the other piece underneath, you are going across the stitches. And this is your edge that is going to get folded backwards and forwards all the time. So, you know, just give it a good firm push into place and along the edges like so. Okay, so you will have that. And then you will still have, oh, sorry, I'm still trying to get used to the angles on this camera, your edges like that, okay, on the front and the back. So all I'm going to do is stand in this like this. Oh, where are we? There we go, so you can see now. Okay, I'm going to turn it around that way. Along this very bottom edge here, okay, I'm going to take my bone folder and just run it across there, because it's going to pop a score line across there. Okay, just pushing right up against the edge of your folder and scoring across there. Okay, don't do it too heavy because you don't want your paper to split. Okay, and then I just take the edge of this and then I kind of tease it round the corner like so. Okay, so I'm not folding it, I'm just taking it nicely around that corner. And then again with this side, okay, very, very gently, just marking that across there, and then taking the edge, run it along the edge of the book, gradually lifting the paper. Okay, so it's not going to rip and tear. Okay, and then that will fold around there, lovely, onto there. Okay, at this point you may want to decide if you want a border down the edge here or not. I do like to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a length of card, let's take this piece so it's slightly longer, and then taking my edge punch as well, I'm just going to cut off a strip an inch wide. So we take that to an inch, like so, cutting that off across there. I will cut another one because I want one to go on the back side as well. So again, just making sure that's lined up where your inch line is. Moving that out of the way. Okay, so I have 2 inch wide strips that I'm going to do with my punch. Oh, it's very, very stiff, this one. I was hoping to get myself a couple of Martha Stewart ones. I've seen a couple that I really, really like, but they can be on the expensive side. And then taking that all the way along. I like to do mine a little bit bigger than the actual page. I will not cut this down until I know where I want it, and make sure it is kind of the right length. Place that in there, like so. Okay, I'll just take that piece off, move these bits out of the way so they don't get stuck in anywhere, and then I'm just going to snip that end off there, and then all I will do is placing this on here. I'm going to find out exactly where I want it to go, so I'll place that very carefully on there, like so, and then lining up this edge as well where I want it to go, like so. I'm just holding that in place. I'm just going to take my pen and then I'm going to score across the top of that piece there and across the bottom there, so I know where to cut it off on each end, and then just snipping those ends off, like so. And then what I'm going to do with this little flap is I'm going to glue along this edge here. Sorry, hope you can see this. Okay, glue along that edge there, and then I've not stuck this down yet. I will do that in a minute. I want to stick the border on first, and then I'm just going to line that up with the top like so, and then line it up with the bottom edge as well, and then just make sure it's exactly where you want it to be, and give that a good push down like so. Okay, so that will flap up like that. Okay, and then I'm going to, before I stick that down, I'm just going to give that a chance to stick properly on there, and before I do that I'm going to do exactly the same with the back. So I'm just going to take my edge cutter quickly, border punch, placing that in there. Oh. Make sure that's lined up nicely. As long as you make sure the pattern is lined up perfectly on the end, then you know you're going to get a nice cut all the way across. If you don't line that pattern up nicely, then you're going to get lumps and bumps out of it where you don't want it to be. So there we go. Again, just removing that paste, getting rid of these out of the way, and get rid of that bit on the ends there, like so. And then again, taking the other side of my book, you can lay that down, it's not going to hurt it. And I think actually I'll turn this around this way to make my life a little bit easier. Just be careful when you turn it over, lay it down, that that flap is kind of tucked in nicely, so you're not going to bend it up. And then again, I'm just going to decide exactly where I want this to go. So I line it up at that end, and then I'm going to line it up there, taking my pen, mark across the top there and across the bottom there, and then just cutting those edges off. Oh, can't see because it's on black card. I need to have the light so I can see where my pen mark is, like so. Okay, and then again plenty of glue down the edge on there, and then placing that in there, lining it up where you want it to go. Make sure it matches up with that top edge, like so, and then at the bottom edge, like so. Okay, giving that a good push down. Okay, so you will have a flap at the top and one at the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to glue these into place. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that on its back down on the table, like so. I'll show you this edge first, we'll do the back first. And then what I'm going to do is go all around my edges, especially make sure you go all the way down that seam there where it's going to fold around. Putting plenty of glue on there, like so. And then I'm just going to run a very, very thin line all the way down the edge of that punch, and I will run over that after with my baby wipe. And then all I'm going to do is just gradually teasing that up into place, like so. Okay, and then running my hands across that so it's nice and smooth. Okay, so you have that, and then obviously taking your baby wipe, just make sure all the glue bits are off, like so. And then okay, so you have that, and then taking the other side again, lay it down like so. I'm going to run a glue strip all the way up that back edge there, around the sides, along there. Okay, making sure there's plenty of glue on there, and again I'm just going to go down that very, very edge of that border. And again, just taking your hand, gently lift the flap, push your fingers in to the bottom underneath, just running your hand up and down like that. Okay, gradually lifting it up and sticking it into place, like so. Okay, and then again you just wipe off any little glue bits that you don't want on there, like so. Take a slightly damp cloth as well, because I know when this ink is wet it does smudge a bit, but I quite like the effect of that, and I wanted this to look quite old-fashioned, so not very, very wet, because obviously it's just going to rub off your paper, but I just wanted the ink to smear a little bit, so I'm just going to rub that across there gently like that, just to spread the ink out a little bit, like so. Okay, and then along the back edge I'm going to do exactly the same. So just using the damp cloth just to spread that ink out across there. Do not rub it too hard, because as I said, you will go through the paper. You'll make it so wet that you will lift the paper up. Okay, and I think that just gives it a nice sort of distressed look. Okay, so then you should have the back of your book, which looks like so. Okay, and the front of your book, which looks like so. And then these open out nicely. They will not crease or anything. They will not destroy your papers if you've done it nicely and taken your time. And then you have your insides as well. Okay, with everything in here ready to go, and it will all lay out nice and flat. Okay, so that's it for this video. What we do when we come back is I'm going to make some more magnets for little bookmarks to go on here, and I may fussy cut out a few bits just to stick on these blank pages here that are in between your files. Okay, and then we may get on to some decorating on the front. Okay, so thanks for joining me. Please come back and join me in the next part. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and thanks guys. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.